I love a success story, but even more than a success story, I like a dude who fucks his life up and then gets it back together again story. Those are my favorite stories. And the way to do that, you gotta write shit down. You gotta think that you are the hero in your own fucking movie, and then you gotta sit down and you gotta write shit down. Write down what you need to do.
Most people play the role of the victim in the movie, right?
Sure. Yeah, this life is fucking me over, man. I could have had this, and I should have had that, and why does this guy get that, and why does that guy get this, and all things that are completely unrelated to you.
Yeah.
All things that you find other people's success as a downfall in your own existence. Instead of being inspired, instead of choosing to be positive, instead of like improving constantly on the direction of trying to achieve whatever the fuck you have written down, you just sit around and spiral. You know, there's nothing more miserable than sitting around someone who's fucking complaining all the time. It is one of the most annoying things ever. Everybody hates it. When someone just sits around and they complain about their life and they don't do jack shit about it. And you tiptoe around it, you don't know what to say. Well, she gets upset when you bring that up. I don't want to bring that up. And you want to go, you fucking crazy bitch, you know what's wrong with your life. Yeah. Stop announcing it to everybody else and go out and fix that shit.
And that's tough love.
Tough love is what everybody needs,
Absolutely.
me included. Because if you're trying to evolve, and I know you are, and I am, and all of our friends are, everyone's trying to improve as a person. It's very difficult to fucking figure out how to be a person. It's very difficult to figure out how to manage your energy and know when you're wrong and know when you're being upset for no reason. It's a tricky thing, you know, and one of the most important things about it is you need to pay attention. You need to have time to think about your own interactions with other people, to think about like the way you behave, to think about the way you think, to think about like the direction that you move in the world. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of energy. And if your energy is being spent constantly dealing with bullshit.
The feeling I have toward my family and in terms of negativity, this is the number one thing where I think I have a gift. I have ability. I have something to share with the world, and you assholes were going to watch me dig ditches or fucking roof houses and Van Nuys for the rest of my life. God damn, that's what you tried. You didn't burn calories doing it, but you still set me on a course where you took my voice and you basically doused it with sand and said, go ahead and get on a roof. And I mean, when I said to my dad, I'm digging ditches for a living, he's like, yeah, okay. What about it? There was never a second where anyone said, hey, man, you got something there. You should write that down. That's a good one. Right. The advice I would give is you're never going to feel the way my buddy Donnie in the next room feels about himself, because he grew up with a family that I think they had his first solid BM put in lucite, and his mom still uses it as a paperweight, or it's hanging from the rearview mirror of her Denali. Either way, you're just never going to feel the way about yourself that I'll liken it to this. It's like a car that rolled over a few times. Yeah. And no matter how much paint and Bondo you put on it, that door on the passenger side, it's always going to be a little sticky. Yeah. Never going to shut. Never going to shut like a car door that never got rolled. Right. You've been rolled. You got T-boned by a drunk driver at some point, and that door's always going to be a little bit sticky. That ain't a death sentence. The first way to get out of that is you're the only one who truly knows what's going on inside of your head.
And what makes you happy.
And what makes you effective.
Yeah.
And the point is the rest of the world, you show them a winner, you show them an efficient person, you show them a happy person, you show them a person that's a good employee, you show them a person that's a good husband or a good father or a good neighbor. You show them that person, they'll take your word for it. So first things first, whatever chaos is going on in your head, it can stay in your head. It does not have to be projected onto the rest of the world. Yeah. You can climb the corporate ladder and be CEO of Nabisco and have all the negative thoughts in your fucking head bouncing around like a ball inside a spray can if you show up to work on time every day, if you clean the gravy stains off your suit lapel, if you act as if. I always talk to Drew about this. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you feel like shit inside. Act as if you're successful. There's a certain way and eventually you will become that person. Meaning, okay, you have a certain amount of sadness in you, and you have a certain amount of depression, and you have a certain amount of, you fill in the negative blank. Get up and do 20 push-ups every morning. And I know you feel like shit. And I know maybe it's twice as hard for you to do 20 push-ups as a guy who feels good about himself. But I want 20 push-ups.
Yeah.
And by the way, at a certain point, tell your biceps and your shoulders you haven't done 20 push-ups. They don't listen. They don't care. You do 20 push-ups, your shoulders will respond the same way a happy, well-adjusted, athletic person's body will adjust.
Right.
Just get up and do it. Just get the fuck up and do it. You feel depressed? Go for a jog.
Right.
You feel too depressed to go for a jog? Go another mile. Just push your ass off and start pushing yourself. And I know it sounds sort of, you know, it's a little pie in the sky, and it's like you don't understand depression. I understand depression. I had many years of physically feeling like I couldn't get out of bed, and I was never like, you don't deserve to live, and I was never like, you deserve everything in life.
Right.
It was just, life's a bitch, and then you die. And I just want to tell anyone who's listening to this who doesn't feel like they deserve anything, act as if. Just start physically moving, because the depression brings you down, and it physically atrophies you, and you have trouble getting out of bed. Like my mom spent the better part of her life just unable to move. And I will tell you that once you break through that gill net, that you feel, that wet gill net of depression that's on top of you. A gill net is what dolphins get caught in, that are dragged behind Japanese trawlers. And it's easier than pulling them up one fish at a time.
Right.
That net that's just hanging over you, well, at a certain point, when you become productive and you start breaking out of that depression and you start accomplishing things in your life, it becomes addictive. And just as addictive as eating the Haagen-Dazs and spending the day in your bathrobe and beating off 12 times a day and not picking up the telephone, just as addictive as that may have felt at a certain time, well then writing a book and working on an independent movie and working on a podcast and an idea for an invention and whatever it is, and whatever your thing is, will become equally as addicting, and you will start taking on life in the exact opposite direction that you're going now. But the first part is just, you have to beat yourself up because people beat you up coming up. Meaning, you need to kick your own ass. You need to go to your own, you need to create your own boot camp, which is get your ass out of bed and start moving.
Yeah.
Pick it up. Don't look at it. Don't think about it. For me, it started always with that coffee mug that would be rattling around the passenger floor of my truck. I'd stare at it, pick it up.
I can't possibly pick that up.
I'll get it tomorrow. Now, get it now. You know what? It can stay till tomorrow. Yeah, but then you'll bring another mug in there, and it's going to clank around, and the handle's going to break. And I realized I just spent 20 minutes sitting my...
Right.
Don't spend 20 minutes staring at the mug.
Just do it.
Go get it.
Yeah.
And eventually, you'll just be that person that grabs the mug and brings it into the kitchen. Maybe you're insane. Maybe you're lazy. Maybe you're depressed. But you know what? The mug's in the sink.
The time I was 14 on, I was just completely immersed in martial arts.
Yeah.
So I barely partied. I barely hung out. I barely socialized.
Did you feel like, because kids either feel cool or not cool, did you sort of feel not judged one way or the other because you had something?
I definitely never felt cool. I was always insecure. Even when I was really good at something, like martial arts, even though that was like the first thing I was really good at, I still would get super nervous if I go to talk to someone at a bank. Like if I go to a bank teller, I'd get nervous. I was getting in fist fights and I wouldn't get nervous, but I'd get talking to a bank teller, I'd stumble over my words, you know. I was definitely insecure. I think every kid is. You know, the kids that aren't are idiots. If you're not look, if you don't look at the entire possibility of life in front of you, the entirety of the possibilities, the massive amount of things that can or might happen, not having any idea whether or not you're proceeding in the right direction, not having any idea. If you don't get paranoid, if you don't get freaked out looking at that, if you don't start thinking about, how small a piece you play in this little thing and how do you figure yourself out and how do you get through this, right? If you don't feel uncomfortable, if you don't feel insecure, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You should feel terrified.
You can't on any given night stop and look around and go, what am I doing?
No.
You got to just keep marching forward.
Well, it's also because you're a 21-year-old man at the time, and when you're 21, you don't have much time to, you have to make a living. You're now out of the nest, okay? You're on your own, and how much time do you have to establish a career? How much time do you have to get things going? Well, you don't have time to sit back and kick back and relax and not make any fucking progress.
Right.
You got to get going.
We're going to take longer to make it. The guys that just say, I'm going to live off this shit money, because when you're that miserable, you work harder, you push yourself harder. You gotta paint yourself into a corner a little bit.
Well, you definitely have to be uncomfortable, and that's something that people don't like to do. But in order to grow, you got to get uncomfortable. And there's a lot of people out there that just don't want that. They want to get as cozy as possible, as warm as possible, as quickly as possible, and never get anywhere because of it.